I don't think when it comes to like what to learn, I don't think I ever was very narrow on that for a long time until I was already very, very deep in, to the point I was like trying to make a career out of this. I think that's when I eventually got to the point, what am I trying to learn here? Because there's always points where you need to learn something new, and I feel like that can kind of be the best way to bring a rise to what you need to learn, is what do I need to learn for this thing I'm trying to do.
Yeah, so when the flames were brought up to you, that's when you were like, okay, shit, I've got to actually focus on something now.
Yeah, because I was so young for most of this. I think it was years before I ever did any UV mapping, and I didn't do any UV mapping till I was like, oh, this is what I need to do to get this to work the way I want it to.
Yeah, you just got to have a reason to do it, and then that's the only reason you'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think we'll come back.
I mean, it's like that for a lot of people, I think, though.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
don't think a lot of people are really like technical, and they want to just sit in a program and figure out what all the buttons mean without getting a result.
Yeah, and there's still, I'm a professional now, and there's still buttons in cinema I've never clicked.
Yeah,
and
I don't rig anything.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Even though you can use it in like a non like character rigging.
Yeah, I know. That's just what I was gonna say. Like, you can just like put joints into anything and just make the coolest
smoke
stuff.
Weed every day.
Yeah,
but
I think people that come into 3D from a distance, you've got all these different angles you can go into, like game design or sculpting, character design. There's just like a billion directions, and
yeah, you can go very niche.
Yeah, and you might not even see the separations between them at that kind of distance from the industry. They might just kind of appear the same thing, and that can make it more difficult. But I think either way, you're gonna land somewhere, whether it's cinema, ZBrush, Blender, Houdini.
Yeah,
3ds
or
Max.
doing something in one of those programs that is like you didn't even think would be a job, or would be something that would be like a dedicated position sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if you just start like try and look at people that are or art that you could create on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Things that people are doing on Instagram, like dailies and shit like that, because most of the time, like it's just one person doing that. They're doing all of it, even if they're just taking a 3D model and lighting it and or simulating over that model. That's a good starting point. You just need to want to create something, really, and then the internet is really your fucking oyster. You just go and like look up tutorials on creating something.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of tutorials on like the basics of a program and learning the basics of it, but like it's really difficult to stay motivated when all you're doing is finding out how to fucking change the axis from the object position to the world orientation or whatever. Like you don't know why you would need that unless you came across a situation where you did need it.
I think there was, especially when I was younger, there was some really dumb things I didn't learn how to do for a long time, that like literally things flipping from the normal axis to the world one, because I didn't really go out my way to learn it. I was just there trying to make motion graphics, and that was that.
You do feel like a bit like your whole life has been ruined when you find out something that would have saved you so much time later on. But there's tons of stuff like that in these programs, because they're so in depth, and there's always going to be some shit that you're not going to know.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's another kind of like humbling thing, is like you're never going to become great at every part of it, and if you try to be, you're just going to kind of be mediocre at everything, and then you're going to have all these people around you who excel at the niches that you need to decide which one you want to. So it's kind of like that with me in modeling. I really, really want to excel at that, and I don't yet.
Yeah, because it's just, I have a lot of shit like that I'll just dip in and out of, and I'll never fully get great at it because, like I'll stop before, like you need to be at it every day. You need to be learning more and more about that every day. Otherwise, you forget. Because I don't know, even if you spend like fucking like a week or so out of a program, even though I've been using these programs for years, I forget things, or I need to refresh myself on things. So if you're just starting off in it, then obviously you're gonna forget a shit ton of things. Even if you only know a few things, you've got to go in it every day.
Yeah, the kind of speed you accumulate
not learn.
Yeah, the speed you accumulate from going out really, really quick and working all the time, and not taking any breaks is quite interesting. And then you take 3-4 days off and you come back in and you just kind of feel a little bit fuzzy, a little bit like momentum just carries all of it. It's quite freaky. But the lighter the software, the less you lose that kind of snappiness. So it's like I never really lose in Photoshop, because it's so light compared to 3D. You're not thinking about parameters or values. You're just kind of smacking things around really quickly.
Yeah, but that's a good thing about if you start by learning everything, like by needing to create a texture, or needing to add text to this or that, you're going to need to find a program that can do that, right? So you're gonna go into all these different niches while you're doing, while you're trying to learn. Maybe you just set out to try and learn 3D, but you end up really enjoying graphic design, or editing all your cameras together, and maybe you want to be an editor. Maybe you really enjoy color correcting and scrolling through LUTs, and then maybe you want to go into color. Like, there's any number of niches you can go into, or you can stay as broad as you may have started. It's just really you won't get that option though if you just go in thinking this is what I want to do, and I'm not going to stray from this. But that is a way to become great at something. If you really think this is what I want to do, and you don't let anything distract you, then you will become
quickly
really
too.
fucking good at it.
Yeah, I've seen some people get very good very quick. I've seen myself do it at certain times where I'm just kind of like, whoa, that I can't believe I got that so quickly. Especially, I think after being so far into the craft, it's you learn other parts of it much quicker, which again is a superpower. Is if you're a VFX artist and you've just done After Effects for the past 6 years, you're gonna pick up 3D very quick compared to someone who's never been near it.
Yeah, because you're gonna find little, even if it's just small commonalities and small similarities between them. You will, like, just switching into the 3D mode in fucking After Effects. You get the Z-axis, and then that offsets depth, and using the 3D camera in there is not too dissimilar from using it in a 3D program.
Yeah.
It's just sort of simulating that depth, but in 2D.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think the kind of honing in the skill of composition and laying things out and how to make something look nice. Those kind of things will push you way further. And if you've been in After Effects or something similar, you maybe even if it's Photoshop or Illustrator, the kind of principles of design. Yeah, that's true as well, because it's something that's super overlooked as composition, and where you place your camera, or how this is angled, or if not overcrowding a shot. So it's small things like that, not just, you're right, it's not just like commonality and in like
the way cameras work or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though that exists too. But yeah, things like composition, definitely.
Yeah, and to speak about like universal carryovers, you know, not just shortcuts and things that general, but if you've been in After Effects for 6 years, you know what hex codes are. You know color.
Mm-hmm.
You know what colors are gonna look. We all know those colors that we just don't. We all have the colors we don't go near because we're like, I don't like using them. And, you know, and you have
or
colors.
you know what goes together.
Yeah, exactly. And I think once you've kind of got those things in place, you're further along the tracks than you might think, and you could probably pivot to other tracks without realizing it very easy.
Yeah, it is off-putting though when you first start something and you're just like, you know, you're not getting somewhere as fast as, you know, when you were doing whatever you came from, or so it is off-putting, but it's a really good feeling once you can go into that program and just use it like you know, like a, you know, artist would, like a canvas sort of thing. You can just paint without thinking about it, I guess.
Yeah, I've been enjoying that in Houdini recently, and I described it to someone like that is I feel like the way I've been working in Houdini is the equivalent of taking paint and throwing it at a canvas, because it's so much control but so little at the same time. Just with a lot of the particle work I've been doing and stuff, is sometimes there's kind of like a after you just like you have them spinning around and doing their thing, because you're like, yeah, I did that, but I didn't do it. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
It's the strangest feeling. But yeah, I think we should move on to, you know, where do you learn? Okay, you know, you might want to switch. You might have, you know, hypothetically, we're kind of focusing on someone who's been in After Effects for a while, and they know they want to go full 3D. They maybe heard the word.
Somebody that knows nothing, you know. That's
okay, yeah,
too.
maybe that's an even better place to go to, is if you really do know nothing, and you're starting out. What do you go and put yourself in university, or do you start learning? And we both know what we're gonna say.
Yeah, well, we're just both. We're just gonna be completely biased on this because we didn't go to university.
No.
And the people, well, I mean, at least the people I've talked to, they all seem to think it was a good experience, but it wasn't much beyond an experience, right? It wasn't like they couldn't have learned what they learned outside of university. But there are some good things about university, like the you know, connections that you make with other students, in terms of like if they got a job in the future, and they knew you were very good at XYZ, then they could, you know, hire you, and that's potential work. You know, you're planting seeds for your future, I guess. And also universities, they bring in, well, at least some of them do. They'll do like a showcase at the end, and people from the, you know, industry will come along. So people from X studio, Y studio, will come and look at the work, and if they think that your work's good enough, then, you know, you get a job straight out the gate, which is great.
Yeah.
But
so then what if
there aren't.
Sorry, Karen.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna wrap up and say, like, it is good, but it's not necessary at all.
Yeah, and I think my kind of like pivot from that is, what if you don't want a job? What if you want what I want? I don't know, I'm kind of swinging in some areas now, but I want to do what work I want to do. And if you're in a job, you don't get to pick. I mean, that's pretty good that you spoke about this earlier, that you actually get to pick from a few projects, you know, which one do you want to go to, and you go pick which one you want to go to. That's cool. But there's a lot of places you go to work where they're like, this is what you're going to be doing the next 2 months, have fun with it. And
yeah,
that can suck if you have to kind of creatively liberate yourself, and if you don't want to make someone else's idea. I think no matter what, the only way you're going to make money in this is to solve problems for other people. So you're never going to be doing 100% your ideas unless it's through the kind of revenue systems like YouTube or e-commerce or Patreon or whatever. But
you can always just make it's a good way to there's a good way to sort of steer the work that you do get, though. Only show work that you want to be doing,
exactly,
to the general, like to the public, to Instagram, to wherever you're going to distribute it. Only show the work that you want to be doing, or the work that you enjoy.
Yeah,
same thing.
And then another thing as well is freelancing is like such a skill to learn how to handle clients, emails, know how much you're worth. All of those things you don't get in a job. You've done both, so you know the pros and cons of both, which I think is great, and something I'm yet to have, because I haven't had a official job in the industry. I've just freelanced. If
you're like proactive enough and you're in a studio, you can sort of see how people are hired. You can see sort of like how to deal with clients as well, because you might be dealing, depends how big the studio is, so you might be dealing with producers who then deal with the client, and if you're in the office, you can see that stuff going down yourself, and you can potentially avoid a lot of mistakes you might make if you weren't to see other people avoiding those mistakes or making them, sort of thing. Because at the end of the day, if you make a mistake and you don't get paid or whatever, from I don't know, I can't think of an example right now, but maybe contractual or something like that. There was no contracts, and then they just don't pay you, and then you're kind of it's kind of it's going to be more difficult for you to end up getting paid, even if you were to go legal route, because there's no contract. You could potentially avoid that if you saw somebody writing up contracts and you're like, okay, well, I need to do that to not get burnt, sort of thing.
Yeah. And I ran into that. I think you remember it back in November when somebody really tried to singe me, and it was difficult. And then after I was like, said I'm going to get a contract. I still haven't, but that's because most people are good.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't want to act like everyone's the enemy.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if I was to see see that happening, I don't know if I would take that, and maybe I just think, oh, that's just something that big studios do. Like, why would I do that, sort of thing? So it's not necessary, but you can. My point was just like, you can learn a lot of what you could learn doing freelance in a studio, but you're right, you won't get you won't make those mistakes yourself, which is when you're most likely going to correct. If you make the mistake yourself, you probably won't make it again, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I think you kind of need to make those mistakes too. You need to go through that kind of stuff and learn about it. And if you just come out of university and you end up in a job which you might like, and then 10 years later you're like, I'm gonna try some freelancing, and then you just kind of get whacked. You might struggle, especially when work might not appear straight away.
And I guess if you do it later on as well, you have more responsibilities. So
that's another
there's
thing.
More at stake.
And that kind of mixes into the first topic, is what do you do depending on how much time you have, and how do you evaluate what you do on that?
Yeah, because there could be people, like listening, maybe you're working a job that you're not happy with and you want to go into 3D. So it's all good listening to us be like, oh yeah, just fucking try everything, bro. Maybe because just do everything. Just spend your whole day doing it when you don't have your whole day to spend.
Oh yeah, that's exactly it. Because I kind of have these shining moments every now and then. I mean, I can get so pissed off at this, and I can go through times where I hate it, and then I kind of have these gleaming moments now and then where I'm sitting making something, and I'm just watching the render kind of resolve away, and I'm like, holy shit, I get to sit here and make this every day. And it's like, wow, that's cool, and it's awesome. And I genuinely do have days where I'm not really feeling the work, and that's what's good about being a freelancer and having a variable amount of income streams. Is I just have days where I just sit and do tutorials, and I just like learn Houdini and kind of mess around, and I'm still kind of have the opportunity to mess around as much as I want. So I think if you set your cards up right and you follow things the correct way that's correct to you, you probably don't have to worry about learning everything, because you can do it later on.
Yeah, that's true. But what if this person, right, this hypothetical person, they're working a job and they work paycheck to paycheck and they live, they're renting, so they need to pay rent every month. And if they don't work this job, then, bye house, you're homeless. Yep. So what would you suggest to them to, as quickly as possible, sort of get competent in 3D, which is presumably what they want to do if they're listening to this.
I think I would go Gary Vaynerchuk on them. I would be like 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. What are you doing? Are you playing games or going out drinking, or are you working on this?
So take your free time and use it more productively, I guess.
That's how I'm where I am now. Is a massive amount of sacrifice of free time. In fact, I actually wish I sacrificed more of it when I was younger, in my teen years, and just I wish I played less games and did more of this, because there was a 2-year period where between 2018, the beginning of 2018 and the beginning of 2020, a 2-year period where I tried to make money off this and I couldn't, and I tried and I couldn't get clients. I didn't know what I was doing, and I had just dropped out of college because I wanted to do 3D so bad, and I failed at it and I didn't make money. And I always kind of felt that if I played games a little bit less when I was 15, that when I was leaving college at 18, I maybe would have made money a bit quicker and got to do this quicker. Came around to 20 years old, I make money off it. That's great. I figured. So
what changed then? What changed in it? Was it just spending more time doing 3D?
Just to catch up, a backlog, really. Yeah.
But then how did you? Because you've got skills, or you've got mad skills. How do you get clients to for your mad skills to make money off it?
The interesting part is there was a point where clients appeared, and that was that. And my kind of philosophy on it, through my experience, and I know this could be a bit sour, but get good enough, you're not going to struggle to find work. And I feel like if you just focus on that primarily, just keep getting better, at some point the work will be there. And I think as long as you're concentrating on and the quality of the work, the experience, the money and the power you're going to have in that project is going to be way better. Because if you're sitting there cold emailing people, trying to find work, trying to get projects, let's say hypothetically you cold email 30 people, you get a job out of it, they will probably be dicks to you because you came to them. They are the more desired asset in that scenario. But if you concentrate on getting an amazing portfolio, looking professional, being professional, people come to you, they won't throw you about as much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess so. So while you're working on learning 3D, like document your progress somehow, put it on Instagram, put it on a website. I guess Instagram is probably the easiest way because a website is
I still get work.
Someone's got to go and look for it.
Yeah, Instagram's great to get work. It really is.
And then if you have any extra spare income, you can put that into those little promoted posts and stuff like that. And just try and put your work in as many places as possible, like all these little what's it called, like Dribble, Behance. Yeah,
jobs through Behance. I've had jobs through everything I've got my work on. So it's I think that's a lot to take from. But there was a point where the work came, and that was that. And there's still quiet periods, but the recurring clients and stuff, it holds up. And I just think that the number one focus over everything should just be skill acquisition, because the more skills you have means the more problems you can solve, which means the more money you'll make.
Because you have more opportunities to make that money. Like if someone comes to you and they're like, can you do this? And then, oh yeah, I didn't learn that. Well, you can't do it, can you?
And you know what?
You don't have that job.
If somebody comes to you and you don't know how to do it, just say you can and learn there and then. That will be, and I think that should take us into the next subject is accelerated learning. And when you do that, the amount of jobs I have took where people say randomly, "Oh, could you do this?" And I'll go, "Yeah, sure," and I have no idea. And I learn there and then, and you will learn it, and you will learn it quick, and that's just how it is. And I think that's that should take us into how
you have
learn.
A reason to do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna learn it way faster than you're just like, oh yeah, I'll learn it, and then you do 5 minutes or whatever every night. But if it's like there's some literally, they've taken the fire to your ass. If you don't learn this and you aren't getting paid, then yeah, that is a pretty good way to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's a good point, because that's how I learned, because I came from 1 3D program cinema, 4D to Houdini, and I was kind of like I learned a little bit of it, and I was using it to bring smoke simulations back to cinema 4D. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to use it for this job. I was in the studio though, so I mean, the fire wasn't really to my ass as much, but it's still like your job, right? If you fuck up enough times, someone's not going to really want to have you as an employee. So, and you've got a deadline as well. So I was just like, I need to learn this program, and I'm going to do all this job in this single program, instead of going back to my safety net, which was Cinema 4D. And I felt like after that job I could go and I felt like I knew the program to a good enough extent where I could use it in place of the old one, which is fucking a massive improvement from where I was, where I didn't really know what I was doing inside of the new program, which was Houdini. And that was over a few weeks. Just fucking go and hammer at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know, I think nearly every single big freelance project I've took, there's been a lot of learning in it, a lot of doing new things. And I think I've always kind of pushed me. You never want to take jobs, especially jobs of novelty, and just do what you know. Like you never want to do that ever. And I think the only way you actually keep pushing yourself is, let's say you do get to the point where you've gotten a couple of jobs. When you get those jobs, do something within them that you've never done ever, because it'll come out good. And you'll
because it moves. Everything's moving so fast in this industry as well. You don't want to just depend on that your skills from this year are going to be relevant next year, sort of thing. There's lots of shit happening in other industries that are creeping into motion graphics, like real time, like a lot of texturing and stuff like that, like really detailed texturing with like Substance Painter. But yeah, I guess real time is the main thing, which I've not properly jumped into.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really went there.
That's just an example.
Deep texturing either.
Yeah, like a few years ago, it was like third party render engines, and now that's like the norm.
Yeah.
You see job adverts everywhere, and it's like you need to know this 3D package and Octane, Arnold, Redshift, main ones, I guess. But yeah, there's always going to be like a new flavor, I guess, that people are going to say. It's going to start as like a really nice, little benefit, like learning, like knowing Houdini or something. That's what they'll say. They'll say like, this is, I've forgotten how they phrase it, but they'll be like, these are required, and they'll be like, this set of skills is desirable as well, but it's not mandatory. Like those desirable skills will eventually become, the mandatory skills. They'll become like the new necessaries, I guess.
Yeah.
So look for those as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the most vital part of it, all of it, is your brain is gonna log information much quicker when you have a thing you don't know how to do and you want to know how to do it. Go and find out how to do it and make it. And then I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. At least now you can go into that software and be armed with the ability to make that thing and then leave the software with it and bring it back to where you need to, or even just if that's the only software you know, at least you can go in there and do that and look at it, you know, or export it, whatever you want to do. To have that ability is far stronger than to be able to go in it and be like, well, this tool does that and that tool does this and this tool does that. Because if you try and learn it on a general kind of software wide basis, you're not going to learn as much.
A good thing that you mentioned as well was like, you know, you see something and then just go and learn it, right? That's what's so fucking great about right now. Like, 10, 20 years ago, you'd look at something 3D, you'd see something that, I don't know, Pixar made or some VFX shot or something. You can't just fucking look it up, you know? You couldn't just look it up. You had to go and spend a bunch of money on university if you wanted to do that. But right now, you can just fucking look it up. It's free.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff is free knowledge that you can just fucking look up on Google and learn, which is a really unique position, which everybody's in right now if you've got an internet connection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can find out how to do anything. It's a
pretty much
bizarre time, I think, no matter.
Apart from being a doctor, like I wouldn't want my doctor to learn it.
I know, right? Yeah, can you imagine? He walks in and he's like, yo, mind you, not to get
certified by Google.
Not to get like political about any of it, but you know, doctors will have like 30 minutes of training about, like, some of them will have like 30 minutes of training in their whole like 4 years about nutrition or some shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll probably cut that out, but I just thought it'd be interesting to say. Like, I heard it on Joe Rogan. But
shout out Joe Rogan. He's a smaller podcaster.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, he should like really try get on our level.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll throw him a bone. We can have him on Generalists. So he can talk about, like, you know, doing DMT and Houdini or whatever.
DMT and oh my god, that would be funny. No, what I was going to say there was, I think no matter what on any of the subjects we've covered here is the only thing that's stopping you between getting to any of them is you. Like, you can really do any of it. You can learn any of it. You can find out about any of it. It's up to you. It's up to you.
And there's tons of, you know, you might be like, oh, these programs are really expensive. There's a lot of free versions of these programs, or the program is just free in general, like Blender, or a Houdini Apprentice, which is like the whole program is like, you know, regular Houdini. You just can't export to another program. Which, I mean, if you're just starting out, it doesn't really matter if you can export cameras to a different program, because you know, you're busy learning that one anyway. Yeah. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Should we leave it there?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Wow, awesome. Wow. That felt much better at half an hour.
Yeah, it did feel good. I definitely was rambling a bit, but it was alright.
I think that's the point.